You find out more information on Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, PrisonPlanet.tv. And if you want to watch the show free for live on Internet TV, you can go to Infowars.com/show. And you can watch all the stuff we're doing here, showing you the articles, showing you video clips. I've got riding shotgun with me, Paul Watson, over in England. We're talking about ISIS right now. But first, before we go any further, we're going to go to your calls. We got Bowser in Missouri. Thanks for waiting. What's your question, Bowser?
Yes. Good to talk to you, Info Warriors. Really enjoy Paul Watson's reports. He's great. I called today. I'm an old guy, 61. I was a medic in the paratroops. However, my dad was a colonel. He was an NBC warfare expert, a general staff officer. I've been worried about biological breakouts since I was about 10 years old. I just wanted to bring attention to your listeners a great book that truly brings home the horrors of the biowarfare scenario, and that is a book called The Demon in the Freezer. You can find it on Amazon. And it covers the Marburg virus, which is essentially the same thing as Ebola, and smallpox, etc. And it closes out the book with the last couple chapters on the monkey house in Reston, Virginia. And I guarantee you'll have a week's worth of sleepless nights after you read that book. That's all, guys.
Well, let me tell you, I couldn't sleep after watching that Nova clip, just how they knew back in 1989 that this disease could go airborne. Back then, they traced it going through the ventilation shaft, getting different areas of monkeys were getting infected. They had to eradicate 400 monkeys, and it was the U.S. military going in there in secret doing this. This never made the news. And it becomes a footnote in a Nova presentation with a nice narrator talking it over like it's no big deal.
Right.
They eradicated the problem.
Yes, Well, this is so frightening to me, the fact that they're telling us that 20,000 people are infected. My guess, it's probably closer to 250,000 by now. And I mean that.
Oh, no. They say this thing's going to double every 2 weeks. So if you have 20,000 a few days ago, in a few days it's going to be 40, and then it's going to be 80, and then it's 160. And that's just the ones they know about. What about the ones they don't know about? What about the ones in the outlying areas, the people who are getting turned away? Because people are getting turned away from clinics. And they say every time one's getting turned away, that's another 1.5 cases that we know of that could just be infected. So, I mean, it's just crazy. There is no response to this, and they just don't want to admit that it's gone airborne. So, do you have anything else to add, Bowser?
Yes. It's also insane and unconscionable that they're actually flying these victims all over the world.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not what you do. You pin them up. It sounds cruel, but you pin them up and you let them die there. That's what you do.
Or at least take a ship out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and fly everybody there. Put it in the Mediterranean. Put it where nobody else is going to get infected. And don't let anybody off the ship. If you go on this ship, you sign an agreement saying you're not going to leave for at least 6 months. So we know, bona fide, that you're not infected and you're not going to infect anybody else.
Yeah, it's just unconscionable the way they're handling this. And they're doing it, I think, on purpose. I think it's all part of the global depopulation plan. I really do, fellas.
Well, Bill Gates is getting involved now, and now GlaxoSmithKline wants to make a vaccine. Well, if they make a vaccine, it ends up in the United States. You've suddenly got 300 million people who want to buy this thing right off the bat and who actually have the money to buy it, unlike most of these African countries where it has to be aided in. Thanks for your call, Bowser. We're going to go now to Jim in Cali. He wants to talk about Ebola and the military response. I agree, Jim. It doesn't make sense that the DOD is being enlisted to help eradicate Ebola.
Hi. Thanks for taking my call. On that subject, if you recall, a couple of years ago, there was a public drill for between the U.S. military and the CDC, in which they went out and had people dressed up as zombies, and they would shoot them in this staged emergency exercise. And at the time, it was covered all over the news, and people were wondering, well, why are they training for zombies? This makes no sense. This is a fantasy. Why are they being so serious about a zombie apocalypse and training to shoot down scores of infected people? Well, now when you look at what we're seeing with Ebola, it makes perfect sense. They needed some sort of fantastical cover for what could be a real scenario where you have hordes of infected people that they need to quarantine. And at the end of the day, they'll do to us like they did to those monkeys and just shoot us all down. So,
and it'll be a secret military mission where they close off a city and come in and firebomb the place, and then those who get out will be shot with guns. I mean, you could see that in the movies. And Ebola is a zombie-like virus. I mean, it transmitted through blood, through biting. It makes sense that they would be training to eradicate zombies because that's what they think is coming down the pipe. And that, you know, of course, the CDC is involved in it, but they'll have their experimental vaccine that's probably clean, not filled with mercury to help themselves out. Yeah, I agree. People got to look into this stuff. It's always stuff that happens 2 or 3 years ago that's now coming back into the news. You got anything else to add, Jim?
Yeah, speaking of the vaccines, I just got a chance to watch World War Z, and one thing that caught my attention is that their solution for the zombie virus was to inject everybody with another deadly virus.
Yeah, and they don't talk about what happens after that.
Yes, exactly. But that was the hope of mankind, was to basically inject yourself with another deadly virus. So hopefully that's not predictive programming, but you know how Hollywood is these days. Well,
in book 2, apparently, or I think in the next movie, if they do make it, apparently they come after gun owners next. That's the big fight, is in the U.S. with the patriots who have their guns still and don't want to give them up. So that's where that is going. Thanks for the call, Jim. We go now to Roy in Montana. Roy, how's it going?
Good. Thanks for taking my call. I really appreciate getting to talk to you. And Paul, I really respect you guys.
Yeah. What's your question? Go ahead.
Well, I don't actually have a question. My son was in the Army. He was in a sniper recon platoon over in Afghanistan, came back, and then he has to do a stint in the National Guard for a year and a half or 2 years. And they just got done with their big training down in Idaho, and there was a 2-star general and 2 guys there from the Pentagon. And each of them was given a survey, and the survey said, are you willing to confiscate weapons from civilians? And if ordered to, will you fire on American citizens? And, he said they were outraged. And the general told him that the Pentagon guys said they were gearing up for something in 2016, but they wouldn't tell him what, and told him a couple of other things on the side. And so I thought you guys would be interested in that.
That's very interesting. Is that online anywhere, or is that this is just a story from your son?
Well, no, that's just the story from my son and the guys that, they had to go over there. So the guys from his platoon that came back with him, and they were outraged. He's trying to get a copy from somebody, so we can send it to you guys.
Yeah, a copy or even a shot on a cell phone, anything like that. Anytime something like that pops up, you need to immediately shoot that on your smartphone and send it to tips@Infowars.com or whistleblower@Infowars.com. And I comb through those regularly, and I love to receive the tips. I mean, I've received some outrageous stuff, some stuff that we haven't even gone public with yet because we have to vet it first because it's so outrageous. But, Roy, thanks for the call. We're going to be back right after this with more of your questions. It's the Alex Jones Show, and I'm your host, Rob Dew, Infowars.com.
The facts are in. The studies are legion. Sodium fluoride and other toxic members of the fluoride family are devastating the health and cognitive ability of the American people. So why are the social engineers adding it to the water? Simple. Dumb down the host population that the parasitic technocracy is feeding on. We may not have been able to get fluoride out of the water supply yet, but we can help to get it out of our bodies. I am extremely excited to announce the exclusive InfoWars Life Fluoride Shield formulation, fusing 6 of the best documented ingredients from around the world to help the body remove not just toxic fluoride residues from the body, but a whole host of toxic substances. Let's take a stand against the globalists by blocking their poisons with Fluoride Shield. I use Fluoride Shield every day. Secure your Fluoride Shield and other pioneering formulations at InfoWarsLife.com today. Let's start cleansing our bodies now and support the InfoWar at the same time. That's InfoWarsLife.com.